Hi, I'm David Marsh. Welcome to Exploring the Human Journey.
Exploring the Human Journey.
Hi and welcome. I am so excited you joined us today. I have the one and only Daphne, the spiritual unicorn, on set today. She's amazing. I can't wait for you to hear all about her. Recently, I got a chance to spend some time with her, and I'd like you to watch this amazing video.
I was hit really hard by death my senior year of high school. I lost one of my best friends. My journey started about 4 years ago when I found myself free of children, because I have 3 kids, and my littlest one was a baby at that time. He was like 3 months old. He's 5 now. There's a metaphysical store a few doors down that I'd wanted to go into and hadn't gotten the opportunity, so I took that day to do it. And I walked in and they greeted me and told me about, the readers and everything they had going on. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm just here for books. And so I go over and I'm looking through the books, and there's a psychic sitting in the back room, and the door's open and he's just reading a book. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. They read books? Like, I didn't know. I had no idea. I just thought they were so out there, All I knew was Miss Cleo and Sylvia Brown. So, but I felt drawn to this man. There was something about him calling me. And I picked up a couple of books. I walked around the store and I finally went, all right, $25 is worth it to know if this is real or not. And so I paid my $25, and then he starts talking about these things I'd never shared with another soul, things I felt about myself, and the tears just started flowing, and I was sold right then and there. And then everything that from my childhood, because I've always been interested in all things metaphysical, crystals, Ouija boards, tarot cards, past lives, voodoo dolls. I tried a little bit of everything, and to know that everything was true, it lit the fire underneath of me. I'm really grateful for all of this because I grew up in Christianity. And I accepted Jesus a lot of times. I was baptized twice. I'm very grateful for all of that. It helped me to understand where people are coming from and to understand the fear that they have, especially when they meet somebody like me. I challenge a lot of belief systems just naturally. I've always been a mover and a shaker, and now I understand that. And so I don't have an issue if somebody doesn't believe what I have to say. It's not about me, and I get that. I just saw the importance to be so genuine in my mediumship, to not cloud it with my own thoughts or my own being. So I tell people that I'm not an interpreter. I don't see in pictures. They're not going to show me a picture of me interpret it. If they show me a picture, I'll describe it to you. I'm not an interpreter, I'm a translator. I don't speak Spanish, I speak spirit.
Awesome, Daphne. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me here.
Super excited, the spiritual unicorn.
Yeah, I'm way excited to be here. Yeah. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So you had this experience of being in the traditional church of where you're not worthy, so somebody somewhere has to do something to make you worthy. Do you still live in that same paradigm? I
don't. And I'm so grateful for it. And I grew up in the biggest valley, the biggest church in the valley. It was really indoctrinated into me, and it took me a long time to separate from that. And as I began to separate, I saw how it impeded every aspect of my life, not just religious, but in my own personal self-worth and how I viewed myself, constantly needing outside validation from people to tell me that I'm good enough, that I'm capable of doing things, and, basically giving me a permission slip. It created the need to have one of those from somebody else, no matter what it was that I was doing.
I always wanted the pastor to tell me I was doing a good job. I was on the worship team, or to give me a prophetic word to let me know that God loved me. I was always looking for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now being in the position of the pastor and being in a leadership position, people come to me for that.
Yeah.
And it's hard for them to wrap their minds around the fact that I am not the one who can just continuously pat them on the back and tell them they're doing a good job. I mean, if it's deserving, of course, I give credit where credit is due, but to constantly uplift somebody else is exhausting.
Yeah.
And trying to be, and being on the other side of that, reaching out for that is exhausting too, because you can never feel good about yourself without somebody else validating you. And then what happens when you're alone? And there's nobody around to validate you.
Yeah, because you're not worthy. That was the message that I got. God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life. Oh, he loves you so much. He sent Jesus to die for your sins. And I whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? So then what happens if I don't accept Jesus? Oh, well, then you have free will and you have to go to hell. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean hell? Well, it's conscious eternal torment where you're separated from God. What? Well, then I walked around with spiritual anxiety all the time. And I knew that I was okay because I had been saved and I was safe and secure. But everybody else, they were going to hell. And so I had to then let them know that I had the real truth and I had to try to proselytize.
Right, you had to convince them.
Yeah. And then I was given, if you don't tell them, who will? Poor Jesus, he loves you so much, but they're going to go to hell because you didn't tell him. There's all this spiritual guilt then that you're throwing on.
Right, so it's your responsibility for somebody else's salvation. So they've just effectively turned you into Jesus. Yeah. You know?
Exactly. And then we sing the song, you'll be the hands of Jesus and you'll be the feet to go into all the world and preach the good news. There's so much anxiety. I love, now that I'm learning about the world and the universe as this whole spiritual world, everything is spiritual, it's such a better narrative to know that I'm okay, I'm part of the divine, I'm here to have a human experience, and I'm a spiritual being having that.
Exactly. And you are first and foremost. If God is, how can we not be of God? Yeah. It's the illusion of this world that creates the separateness because we can't see God. We don't know what God feels like because we've never been taught that. We continue to just go about like everybody else before us and not questioning things until we start questioning things, and then it makes everybody else mad who told us the things that we started to believe, and then we question them and we end up getting excommunicated or blacklisted or told to just leave until we're ready to accept the real truth and get in the program and fit ourselves into these nice pretty little boxes that everybody's struggling to stay in.
And you're just being deceived by the devil and you're off course and all that. And now I'm realizing, it's just such a great universe we live in. We get to be human. We get to have this experience. Instead of trying to get out of here to get to there, I'm like, no, this is where the action is.
It is. That's why we're here.
This is so much better.
We knew that before we came, but if we didn't forget everything when we got here, then it wouldn't be as fun as it is if we had remembered, because we would still be in our God beingness. We would still know that we have access to everything, and there wouldn't be a challenge because we would just recreate whatever we wanted here without having any sort of gain from it. All of the things that we feel inside when we're trying to do things, all of the struggle and things are part of the movement that we need for our souls. We come here because it is so heavy. I was saying just today to some of my friends, we come here because it's hard and it's easy. It's the hardest thing we'll ever do, but it's also the easiest thing we'll ever do for our souls to advance. Everything is about growing, and we feel so good when we grow and we expand. How could that not be one of the main purposes of being here? It just happens in a whole bunch of different ways. And if we listen to all the other humans, then we are not going to really understand what it is that we're going through. We're just going to figure out how to not like it. And all of these reasons and justifying why we're staying there. And one of the hardest things in your spiritual journey is when you start separating from the crowd that you've been with, it is really hard for them to accept you where you're at, because now you're challenging their belief system. Now you're holding up the sign in front of them, forcing them to look at the reflection that what they have believed may not be true, and they can't handle it. So they try to shut you down.
So good.
And they will just keep beating you down and beating you down and beating you down until you get along with the program. But really all it is that you've become unpredictable. And humans like stability.
We love that predictability.
We do. We love to know what's going to happen. And even as a psychic medium, sometimes I fall into that, like I know everything. I don't know everything. I can feel things happening. I don't necessarily know exactly what's going to happen. Like really excited for today, so I have all of these feelings, but I don't know how it's all going to unfold, other than it's going to go along with the feeling that I'm giving it. How it comes to fruition, I don't know. But that underlying feeling will tell us exactly what we're going to get, but we just don't know how it's going to unfold. And the human way of seeing things needs to know every point from beginning to end and everything in between before we ever get going. And when somebody starts to deviate from that, we can't handle it, because now I don't know how you fit in my life. You used to be really predictable, and I know that you would do these things. If I did this, I know you would do that. And now all of a sudden you've changed the game up, and I don't know what to do now. You're totally unpredictable. So now I don't know where I stand, and I don't know how you fit into my life anymore. And now that's causing me anxiety because I don't have control over that.
Yes. Oh, good.
And rather than going, all right, well, you decided you like Brussels sprouts today. I do not like those. You can go ahead and eat Brussels sprouts, but I'm going to continue to eat broccoli because that's what I like.
Yeah.
And, and my viewpoint now is we can continue to eat, you can eat your Brussels sprouts and I can eat my broccoli. We can sit at the same table and have our dinner. And you're eating Brussels sprouts doesn't mean there's something wrong with my broccoli.
Yeah, I have people in my life that, as I deconstructed from that system that I was in, they think that I am no longer accepting them or I'm challenging their belief system. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah. I'm not here to tell you what you have to believe. This is how I am now seeing the universe. I am now seeing the universe as a safe place. It used to be kind of a dangerous place because if you didn't get it right, something really bad was going to happen forever type thing. Right? So how long does it last? Forever. It never stops. It's conscious, eternal torment if you don't get it right. And so now I see the universe as a loving, inviting place, and this is all just play, and we get to experience it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what it is. And something that popped in when you were saying that was they're thinking that you're going to whatever that word is.
Them, yeah.
Your new beliefs to them.
Yeah.
So all they've done is plucked out this one factor and then plugged your new belief into it, still supported by all of their perceptions. So, all right, well, you were telling everybody about your old beliefs. Now you got a new belief, and we try to turn everybody into what we're doing. So now you're going to try to turn us into what you're doing. Yep. And, la, 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 you're going to hell. Yep. And I would rather play it safe.
Well, we get our identification from our belief system.
We do.
And so, I was proud to say that I was a Christian and this was my belief system and I had the truth and, Jesus said and the Bible said and whatever. And people that didn't identify with that, they're like, whatever, dude. But I'm like, oh, those poor people, I have to convince them. Well, now that I'm like, oh, hey, this is your journey. You get to have what you believe. Those people that are still in those belief systems, they're like, whoa, are you saying that I'm not okay? Because that's not okay with me to say I'm not okay. So it challenges their beingness.
Yeah, and all you really are doing are modeling exactly what Jesus came to share with us, is fully accepting somebody where they are and not trying to change them. It doesn't mean that you close your mouth and you don't speak your truth, but you aren't trying to convince anybody to get on your ship. Yeah. You're just simply sharing. Through my journey, I've encountered a lot of other mediums and gotten a lot of messages, and one really significant one happened with a medium from the UK. He's actually the president of the ISF, the International Spiritualist Federation, and he channels one of his master teachers. And it's really funny because his name is Robin Hodson, and he's 6'5", and his teacher that comes through is a really small man, like my size, like 5'3". So when he starts to channel, his body starts shrinking up because it's a small man inside occupying this giant man's body, right? And he goes into such a deep trance that he doesn't even remember the messages that come through. Wow. And being as sensitive as I am, I can feel the shift and I can tell that there is somebody else occupying Robin's physical being. And I've known for a long time that my journey is about sharing these truths and encouraging people to find their truth and live their truth and support them in their journey, whatever that is. It's not my path. I'm following mine. Whatever yours is, I want to support you in it so that you feel the unconditional love that you're seeking from God, from an outside source, because you have lived a life of God being outside of you. So I have gotten my direct guidance that I am that representation for you. So I can be your tangible outward reflection of God, but in a way that you can handle it to support you to find your real truth and that God works from within you and through you.
I love that. You had a quote saying, God's not out there. He's not, quit looking out there. He's right there.
Yeah, right in here. And when Jacob is the teacher's name that came through, and I sat down with him just like this, and I started talking to him about just these things? How do I go forward? Like these are really big shoes to fill. I feel like I am walking hand in hand with Jesus, sharing these messages. His message got all convoluted. And now I have the ability with today's technology to speak for myself and not allow, I mean, I guess you're documenting my story, but you're documenting my words right from my mouth, not writing a story 200 years after I've died.
Yeah.
And to tell people what was, which is really just a remembrance. Every time that we remember something, we're only remembering the last time we remembered it. We're not even remembering the original event. So things shift and change.
Oh, that's incredible.
So I've done so many studies on lots of religious texts and different religions. I myself have gone through lots of different things. Even I was fully into Egyptian gods for a while.
Sure.
And worshiping multiple ones for different reasons and all of these things.
So you went from, I was given this God and this belief system to like, well, what else is out there?
Yeah.
Did you experience even darkness?
Yes, my senior year of high school, I did turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, if God is, well, like, what about Satan then? What's Satan all about?
What'd God ever do for me?
Yeah, God didn't do nothing. At least Satan promises me a good time.
Hey, I'm gonna have a party while I'm here.
And that just didn't resonate with me either, because there wasn't enough divinity in it for me. It was still too man-controlled, and I could feel the heaviness and the thickness of it. So it wasn't necessarily the ideas of it, but the people that were involved in it. And that's how I started looking in hindsight, how I started moving through religions was through different people and seeing what they were all about. And the thing that I was told by Jacob was, when I said, but these are really big shoes, like, how do I do this? And he says, well, it's no more difficult than those who went before you. And I thought about that, and it was like, well, you're right. Like, I might live in a different time, but I have it much easier. I have it much better. There, all of these masters laid the way for me to be able to share the truth and come in a whole new perspective from it, because most of them have been men.
Yeah.
It's men for just about everything, and now we're starting to shift into the female. The matriarchal thing is starting to come back, but we've got to be careful we don't go back to all the women run things, because that's what Egypt was back in the day. All women run, and we just end up on the same side, the opposite side of the same coin. We've got to find that nice little balance right in the middle there.
There's something about that polarity when you have the balance, the masculine and the feminine balance, and even within your own self, how you can be in touch as a man, strong man. I don't cry. You can be in touch with your feminine, if you will, side, where you have the feelings and the emotions, because those are great guidance systems. And you can still have ambition as a female and say, well, there's things I want to do as a man, go out and So I like when a person can have that balance in there. Obviously, we still have our gender roles that we may accept.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the key there, that we may accept, because not all of us have accepted our gender roles, or just like our religious beliefs have changed and shifted, so have our gender roles. I spent the last 6 years as a wife and a mother, and I did nothing else. And so when my marriage ended, which was as a result of my spiritual growth and my finding truth and all of this, it was a really difficult time for me to step away from all of that, because now what do I do? How do I get accepted by society? Which then led me through all these things. Well, I don't want to be accepted by society that's still needing that outside validation. If I'm constantly reaching outward to be validated, then I'm never going to feel good where I am. I'm going to constantly be reaching out for something. And if there's not a person who can validate for me, then I'm going to reach out for something else. I'm going to reach out for food. I'm going to reach out for alcohol. I'm going to reach out for drugs. I mean, not me specifically, but just,
Bear it all, girl. Let us know every sort of detail.
I've been through all of that. I have. I mean, I know that I spent a lot of my early 20s drinking, and it, when I look back at my past, when you're in it, you don't really see it for what it is. It's just like, oh, I'm having a good time. I'm so my wild oats, and I'm really glad I got all that out of my life. But At the same time, I never taught myself how to, and I hate the word cope. You shouldn't have to cope with anything because you're still in resistance.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Because you're just going, all right, well, I want to find a way to just ignore you and not let you, you know, infiltrate me, but I'm not going to do anything about it. You know, that's what coping is just trying to figure out how to fit yourself into that box too and not lose your mind about it rather than seeing how you can move through it.
Yeah. I like the sentence that you have where you say religion, they're like colors. You just pick the one you like, the one that fits you. Yeah,
and that's a very offensive statement to a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It really is.
But when you have no judgment, you're like, it's okay. It's all of this one thing, this one magical experience of humanness, and you get to pick which human construct you want to live by. Do you want to live by the religious one, the political one, the gender identity one, the sexual identity? What construct do you want to live by?
Right.
It becomes a veritable cornucopia of opportunity.
It does. It's there's a really popular RPG game, role-playing game for Xbox and PlayStation called Skyrim.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so you pick a character at the beginning and you get to decide if you want to be like a Khajiit or you want to be an elf or you want to be a red guard, and they all come with different qualities. They're all equipped with certain skill levels and things that they're better at. Yep. The Khajiit are really good thieves and the elves are really good marksmen, you know, so depending on what you want to accomplish in the game, you're going to pick a character that way.
Now you can pick a dark character, right?
Absolutely, and you can turn them dark if you want. There's orcs in there, and you can also start with the dark character and make it light. It's exactly what you make of it. We have just woken up in the game already. We already picked the character. We already picked the skill set.
Living this right now.
Right. And we have just been guided by fear. All those that came before us. Yeah. And we are living in a whole new age where we don't have to be afraid. We are more afraid of each other than we are of anything else that could come after us. We aren't afraid of any animals or anything of Mother Nature unless we're out in her environment or she brings the storms to us. I mean, weather is really the only thing we fear. So, but we're already in the game. So we've already gone past the point where we get to pick our characters and how we're equipped. And what's really cool is that at this point in the game, a lot of the legwork has already been done, so you just have to go back and pick out the things that work for you. One thing that really helped me to understand my being, because when you realize that everything you've been told is not necessarily the truth, I just set it all down. I just said, whoa, okay, everything that I know, I just have to put it down and start all over again. And I started with astrology because it's not just your sun sign. The horoscope, people go, oh, well, it's, you know, you can't fit 7 billion people into 12 signs. Right. You certainly cannot. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. And it goes so much deeper than that. And when I pulled up my natal chart and I looked at everything that was in there, it made so much sense to me. I'm like, oh, no wonder I've got temptations in all of these areas because it's part of who I am. It's part of my journey here. You know, there's a big part of me that does not like to be alone, that's constantly seeking somebody to be with me, and it's in my chart. It says that right there, that this lifetime is for me to be self-sufficient. And one of the other things that's really, it tickles me every time I think about it, is specifically in my chart, it says marriage is not for her, and if she does get married, she'll write it off as a youthful mistake. I'm 34 and been married twice. And divorced twice, and I'm done. And it makes total sense to me, and now I can free myself of that need to be a wife or to be a good woman to my man, to even have a man. I can let all of that go because I understand now where I need to be. And I need to be self-sufficient and by myself. And I recently, you know, turned down a suitor that offered me the world. And I couldn't do it. There was everything in me fought it. And everything out here says go for it. And so what do you do when the logical thing is to go for it, but your heart is telling you to do something different? This man could change my life. I'd never have to work ever again. He'd take care of me, take me on trips and do everything for me and worship me. You know, like, who doesn't want that?
Sure. The ego loves that.
Oh, and especially as a Leo. Oh, stroke my mane, please. You know? And I just couldn't do it. That's what I've been waiting this whole time for. And I got it, and I didn't want it. It wasn't right. And it was the hardest thing to do, to tell him,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not you, it's me. And it sounds,
You
but
said
really,
it's not you, it's me.
I actually didn't use those words.
So
I did
good.
tell him everything. And I did make a Facebook post about everything, and he was able to understand me, and and everything is fine.
Did you tag him in that Facebook post?
I did not, but he did know it was him, and he messaged me. And
was
and
that me? Yeah.
Yeah, no, he actually just thanked me for the additional information.
Yeah.
And the other part of me realized that I am not willing to do that anymore. I'm not willing to give up my life for somebody else anymore. It's my time to live my life how I want.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a pivotal moment for me, because I realized that that was a representation of every choice that I've made in my life. It's just in that moment, I knew how powerful it was. I could feel it within me that if I did choose to go with him, that was the end of my life. I wouldn't be able to recover from that. I would just be stuck in wife mode for the rest of this journey, because I pulled so much out of it to go sink myself back into it. I felt like I couldn't get back out of it. It felt like a dead end. And everything outside says logically, well, go do it. You can still do all of these things. And I'm like, in my heart, I feel like I know I can't.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Yeah, you have to find that place where that feel and that vibration is right.
That is where most people miss.
Yeah.
And it happens for everybody in all avenues, not just in relationships, but any aspect of your life. You get that feeling within you. And when you honor it, everything works out, even if it's really chaotic in the beginning. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is the initial chaos.
Yeah.
So that way we have the smooth across the board, but we don't realize that if we create this chaos rule immediately, it does smooth it out and makes everything so much better. And making a choice consciously to violate my soul's calling, all I'm doing is hurting myself, and then I'm hurting whoever else is involved. And I realize that I'm going to look like an asshole one way or another, so I might as well just get it over with now instead of dragging it out, and then it makes it even worse. And then rather than trying to figure out how to make it work, if it just doesn't feel right, then I know not to go there. And I feel that if everybody really tuned in and listened to that they would make better choices. But most people can't even hear it. They can't feel it. They can't sense it, because they're too busy. The mind is going all sorts of crazy, and there's so much stuff going on that they don't stop. And I think one of the biggest spiritual catalysts is depression.
Mm-hmm.
You have something that happens to you, and it just makes you stop life and reevaluate. And some people don't get as deep as they need to. They just sit there and wallow in their sorrow for themselves, rather than realizing that it was a gift to show you that all of these things that you thought that you were are not who you are. So who are you?
So what do you think that true essence is?
Well, it's God.
Mm-hmm.
It is the infinite intelligence that we cannot wrap our minds around. It is incomprehensible from this perspective, because if we could comprehend it, we would be looking through our God eyes.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be on this end of it. We would be on the other end of it, and this experience wouldn't even be here.
Yeah.
So without this, we wouldn't know ourselves as infinite. From the other aspect, the duality is what knows. I only know that I'm a woman because you're a man.
You have to have that opposite to know the one. Yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise, I just wouldn't know.
If there was one gender, we would not know there was anything different.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's like anything. There's people who grow up in a religion and they don't know there is anything else.
Yep.
Have you seen the movie The Village by M. Night Shyamalan?
I'm aware of it, but I have not seen it.
You should watch that. That's a very, very
you trying to give me nightmares, girl?
No, but I think it'd give you a good, some good reference points for other people too, about just the indoctrination that happens in that movie. What happens is that the people are secluded, and they're led to believe certain things that aren't actually true.
Yeah.
And it comes out, and not only
kind of like the way a lot of us were raised. Okay.
Right. And it's like literally, you're taught all of these things, but if you just looked over the fence, you would see the exact opposite that would contradict everything.
Wow.
Imagine if you were told that there were nothing but men in the world, and all you've had is experiences with men. You were grown up around men and everything, and then all of a sudden, you look over the fence and you see a woman. your world is going to fall apart because you were told there weren't any. And all of a sudden, everything that you knew to be true is not. So where do you go from there? You can't trust outside of yourself, but then you feel so disconnected and in a limbo state. You're desperate to find something to reattach yourself to. So that's why we keep with things and people. People jump from relationships looking to fill this hole, and it's really not a hole. It's the disconnection from your highest self that you're feeling. And when you get reconnected to that, then everything flows. Then that's when you find exactly what you're looking for, even if you didn't know you were looking for it. That's when things start happening, the miracles. It's not that there's no such thing as miracles. It's that you are offering a vibration that invokes things that are magnificent.
Right there.
When you're having a great day, there's more things that happen to make it an even better day. And when you're having a bad day, the same thing. But at any point, you can choose to shift that, and you get immediate reflection in your reality. It's just that the things that we see, we're so used to seeing them that we don't know how to look at them differently until somebody shows us to look at them differently, a different perspective, a different perception.
You've done the work. I can tell that you've done the work. So you've taken your course through the different belief systems. You looked at it, you've laid it out, you've done the work. You've also got this intuitive thing, this ability to connect across the veil. You're okay. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, but what are this? Take a deep breath. You're okay, and it's gonna be okay. What about my loved ones that have died and gone on, and they didn't believe that? It's okay. They're just fine. They
are just fine, because you are not this physical body. This is just your spacesuit. You can't be here in this physical world without it and do all of the things that this world allows you to do. You know, we can have spirits come in. They come in all the time. I feel them, I see them, I sense them, but they can't do the same thing that I do. In order for them to lift this cup up, it takes so much energy. They're likely to just drop it because it takes so much for them to traverse the veil to get over here to do something like that, that when they're communicating with us, it's really simple signs, like the candle might be flickering. And I feel like this candle has kind of been flickering on and off. We'll have to watch and see later. But that's how they'll interact with us, is through something really simple like that. But you don't think much of it, because if the candle's flickering, then maybe the air came on or something like that. And you do want to check those things because you don't want to blindly believe anything. That's the other part, is that if you are hopping around religions trying to find the truth, you're still taking from somebody else's rather than finding your own, and you're just going to get buffaloed again. And there are a lot of things that are contributed to spirit activity that aren't actually spirit activity.
It's good.
But they're going to communicate with us in these little ways. They're very subtle, because if it was big and, you know, loud and in your face, it would scare you. You know, I mean, people have stories all the time of things that happened to them that were so tangible, it scared them, and they might have even peed their pants. You know, and so they can't communicate with you in such a bold way, because you won't accept it. It has to come in your dreams. It has to come in just a sense of knowing. One of the most common things that happens to people is that they'll be busy doing something, and all of a sudden somebody pops into their mind. And that is them thinking about you, whether they're here on this side or not.
Interesting. That synchronistic thing. Where
and it's the same
the phone
type
will ring
of,
and you'd be like, I was just thinking about it.
Exactly. And that telepathic communication is what happens between us, regardless of where we are. It's exactly what it is. And most people don't take the time to understand that energy exchange, which is where I differ, is that I have literally let go of everything. I pulled back from this world so much to understand who I am as a being and what I'm doing here and what all of this means outside of everybody else's opinions, so that I can live my life on a solid foundation and not be fearful and know that I have help.
Oh boy. So on that note, you see this long bunch of writing? That's all you're writing.
I was going to say, I noticed my my little emojis in there.
So you're a very prolific Facebook poster, and you always post some amazing things. The paradox is that you don't see the Almighty is everything that you are. The paradox is that you don't believe it and you deny it, rather than taking the time to find your truth. And then you write, All this God shit people tell you is bullshit because you have no reference point to know what's real and what's not until you do your own research. You'll never know. Boom, drop the mic.
Right? Mic drop.
That's a $700 mic, don't drop it. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's exactly true.
Yeah.
And
Because you wrote it.
I did write it.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's something that people fight me on a lot. They want to take this book, whatever book it is, it doesn't matter. There are a lot of holy books.
A set of writings that somebody said, this is the word of God.
And everybody is still just human. You know, and one of the big things that I've learned recently is about Buddhism. Buddhism teaches about freedom from attachment.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a monk or a nun, you have to attach yourself to hundreds of rules. It's 53 for monks and 366 for nuns.
Wow.
And those are attachments, because if you detach from those things, then you might be in violation of. And so I just don't even understand how that works.
Yeah.
And no matter everything that I found, there's some sort of contradictory thing. So the only thing I can do is find what it is that's true for me.
Yeah.
And I know that if you take the time to find your truth and you just keep going down that rabbit hole, you're going to find the same thing that I've found, which is why I don't feel the need to convince anybody. And sometimes I think that makes people angry because I am very solid in what I believe, because I know it's not a belief, it's my truth.
Yes.
And there's a huge difference.
That feels great.
Yeah, and there was a point in time where I did just have a belief, and then I did have to go on faith, which is where my friend Kevin comes in, and he really helped me to solidify the knowledge that it's not beliefs, that this is the truth, and to encourage me to find my own way. And we are sensitive enough in so many different ways that we can find it if we're willing to close down the external experience and remember, because that's really all it takes. It's a remembrance of who we are. We've just forgotten. It's not something we have to learn. There's just a whole bunch of, dust over it, because that's what makes this experience.
Yes.
And
so for the listener and the viewer, tell them who Kevin is.
Right. So Kevin was my best friend when I was back in junior high. We actually met on a blind date when we were in 8th grade. One of our friends set us up together, and
8th grade setups.
8th grade, right?
As clunky and awkward as that is.
Right. And it was back before cell phones. It was back before everything. Like we would talk on the regular handheld phone with the cord on it.
My kids
and
have no idea what that means.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was attached to the wall, and we had a special connection from the moment we started talking. And when we first met in person, we've been talking for weeks, but we just sat and stared at each other. We had nothing to say. It was just a pure energy exchange.
And you were 8th grade.
Yeah, and 8th grade. I mean, you just don't know. But and he ended up passing away my senior year of high school. So I was 17 when he passed. And I began my journey, my spiritual journey and my mediumship when I was just after 30.
Yep. So that the video feature at the intro, that was the memorial space for him as a physical, tangible remembrance of him.
Yes. So that was his gravesite, and he's got a nice bench that I go to sit on. I hang out there pretty frequently. David tells me that's not normal.
It's a little different than most people to hang out in cemeteries.
It's the only quiet place that I can find in the city. Energetically, the city is so busy. So I get a refuge in the cemetery, and it is that particular cemetery, not necessarily all of them. But
so I call Daphne up and I say, hey, we need to do some footage for your video feature. She goes, oh, well, I'm in the center of Phoenix right now. I go, really, where are you at? She goes, I'm at a cemetery. I go, oh, that's not normal.
I want to shoot you there.
But that would make a great video place to shoot. Oh my goodness, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and it was. And he really helped me to become comfortable with my mediumship, because when you start learning mediumship, it makes you feel like you're a crazy person, because you're hearing yourself. And the thing is, there's no sound inside your mind. Even when you think, you're not thinking in sound. Yeah. So when you get other thoughts that come in, how do you know what is yours and what is not? You don't until you start to investigate and start to interpret those different things. And he came to me and brought me memories and things that I had forgotten. There's no way anybody else could have known because they were personal experiences just between he and I, and they were rather insignificant too, just run-of-the-mill things that I mean, it wouldn't have been any story I would have shared with somebody that they could have brought to me or anything like that. And I tested him a lot too. I mean, for years, I didn't go, oh, all right, Kevin, you brought me a couple memories. I'm good to go. We're going to, it took a lot for me to really be okay with that. And it took a lot of messages. At this point, in my journey, I've realized I've given thousands of messages.
Sure.
And even still, I am checking myself every single time, and I don't take it for granted. I don't just assume that everything is. And when I'm in the moment, of course I do, but I'm always very grateful for all of the assistance and the support that I get, and how especially Kevin, how he's walked with me and supported me and helped me through times. There were a lot of rough times where there wasn't anybody in the physical there that was able to help me. They just couldn't support me on the level that I needed, and he was there and I could feel him. And even though I was still alone, I had that comfort there. And I found that I could go even deeper, that I could talk to even more, that I could find even more. And it gets really difficult when you cannot prove to somebody what you're bringing through, which is why channeling is, a lot of people are kind of like, meh, because there are a lot of people who think that they channel, but it's just inspirational. They're tapping into something and they are bringing something through, but they're not blending of their energies. They're not sharing their physical space with another.
Well, give presence to the difference between mediumship and channeling for those people that are unfamiliar with that.
So mediumship and channeling kind of go hand in hand. You cannot be a channel without being a medium. Mediumship, though, is about connecting to a being and being able to bring that conversation into this world. And traditional mediumship is loved ones, people that you can validate evidence for. I can bring through information about your grandmother and give you enough information to validate that for you. And one thing that mediumship has been evolving into, it has started to separate from the physical description. A lot of it started off with having to fully describe somebody from a physical standpoint before you ever get into it. But the thing is that your mind starts to put things together. Your brain will automatically bridge gaps for you. So if you have enough pieces to connect the dots, your brain's going to try to connect the dots for you, but the dots are a giraffe and your brain's connecting for an elephant because there's too many pieces missing. So then what happens is that you get your mind starting to go, okay, well, who is this person? Who is this person? That you start losing the message, and then there isn't anything there. Or a lot of mediumship is just about proving that that person is there, and then there isn't any substance with the message. There's a mismatch of balance in there between proving that it is that person, but also giving you something to move forward with rather than just saying, Uncle Joe says hi. So mediumship is traditionally with people. Now, mediumship expands into angels and other light beings, but like I said, those are really hard to prove.
Oh, sure.
Because a lot of people will just start with those because they don't have to do the proof. Mediumship does take a lot of your own trust in your spirit team that what's coming through you is valid and legit. And the most difficult thing for a medium is giving a message to somebody who has no idea what you're talking about. And they're looking at you like, and that's also where if you start with a physical description and you're so set on describing that person as a human, then it just totally you just can't even connect with that person. You lose the energy, and then there's a lot of things that start to get made up, and this is where the fraudulent stuff comes in. Maybe it's not fraudulent, it's just that the energy has dissipated. Oh, of course there are. Harry Houdini actually dedicated his life
trying to disprove it.
And he found a lot more real mediums than he ever did fraudulent ones.
Interesting.
But and then you start to get convoluted, and then you start to put yourself into it because now you're having to make up for the energy. You start tapping in psychically, and a lot of unfortunately, a lot of mediums that practice don't understand that they are shifting between psychic messages and actual mediumship messages.
Wow.
So that's where channeling becomes difficult, because if they are not familiar with what the vibrations feel like, they're thinking that they just, that somebody is doing it for them, but it's really just inspirational. A full channel is going to be able to set their personality aside. You're going to hear difference in their voice. Their cadence is going to be different, but more than anything, you're going to feel the energy shift. Inspirational speaking, you'll feel it a little bit, but you'll get a little bit more excited with inspirational speaking. When somebody's channeling, you're captivated.
I love it.
And you're pulled into it because you can't help. Because that's what you're there for. Your energy is being given. You're being a conduit for creator to flow through you, and you're providing energy to that channel to be able to bring the message through. And a true channel is going to bring a message of growth and give you something to work with, as opposed to some that come in and just want to scold you. And I've witnessed lots of different people doing lots of different things, and the quality of the channel comes down to the quality of your person, how much work you've put in yourself. If you haven't put that much in, then you can only channel somebody who is of like vibration.
It's got to come through your filter. So if your filter is really dense and hard to get through, then maybe the message is not as pure.
Exactly. And I'm not going to be able to reach Archangel Michael if I have a very limited perspective on things, and I'm not open, loving, and accepting of everybody. And the angels are a huge one that I know are mischanneled, are misrepresented.
I've heard people tell me, "Oh, Archangel Michael is with you." I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
Yeah. Well, and he is. He's with a lot of people.
Cool.
So how do you get to validate any of those? And especially being such a skeptic, and mediumship has been something that has had frauds all throughout time. And that's why it's not so hugely accepted today, is because of all of the fraudulent stuff. People have paid a lot of money just to be hosed over. A lot of people are using spiritual work as a way to take money from people. Oh, well, come see me every week and we'll do these $125 clearings. And, and I'll get your oral all fixed for you. And it's like, well, no, it's not how any of this stuff works. So how do I know that if I'm not as sensitive, if I was not tuned into any of that, how do I know you're telling me the truth? As sensitive, I know you're not. You think that, I think that probably the most heartbreaking part about it is a lot of them think that they really are. And they've been supported by others around that are encouraging them, but they aren't really seeing the truth for really what it is. It's just still another skewed perspective.
Have you had someone give you a message you knew was not accurate?
And all you can do is just say thank you. And one of the biggest things about messages is that you'll feel it within you if it resonates, and then sometimes it invokes your ego and you want to go, oh, that's not true. And those are the truest messages of them all, the ones that you want to reject immediately.
Get you fired up about.
Because it forces you to look at your stuff. And when you get so worked up in there, if you aren't familiar with what is happening within you, you're just going to let your ego run rampant. And that's where the arguments and all of these things that happen between us that causes problems, that's where they all stem from. So for me personally, Archangel Michael, I've tested him so many times, and just as I've tested everybody in spirit, because I don't want to take anything for granted. And I also have to constantly make sure that I am being present and that I'm in my chosen state of being and that I'm not being misled for anything. And I was down at the old Buckeye jail and we were doing a ghost hunt, and just checking it out. And nobody in the room knew I was a medium except for the paranormal investigation crew that put on the event, because they met me when I was in Tombstone holding seances in the morgue.
Because that's normal. Like, everybody does.
Yeah, right. I mean, everybody who doesn't spend a weekend at the morgue and Tombstone talking to ghosts? And
that's not creepy at all. It's totally normal.
Yeah. So, I did a ghost hunt with them, and I was in a room talking. There was a gentleman with me. We're about this far apart, and we had heard that this particular room, they like to hear stories. So he's telling a story, and I'm giving him my attention, and there's a lantern in the room that's electric, and it starts flickering as he's telling the story. So we're like, all right, we're getting some activities. And he's talking, I'm listening, I'm taking pictures of stuff, I'm videoing, and then I just stop to listen, and I've got my hand down to the side. And I feel somebody just slip their hand in, just like that.
What?
And there ain't nobody in the room. The door's behind him. We're the only two in the room. It's not like somebody came up from behind me, and from some other door or something. And I just move my hand like this in front of me, just like I would if somebody in the physical was trying to hold my hand. I didn't want to pull my hand away. I'm listening to the story. And then I put my hand back down, and it was grasped even tighter.
Oh, wow.
And I instantly just asked for Archangel Michael, and Ryan, who's in the room with me, he goes, "Whoa, what was that white light behind you?"
What?
Yeah, and he had no idea what I was doing. This is all happening mentally in my mind. He had no idea that somebody was trying to hold my hand, or that I called Archangel Michael for help, but he saw it. And instantly, the temperature in the room got hot again. Because we were in Buckeye in the middle of the summer, and there's no air conditioning there, so it was hot. And when the spirits come in, the temperature does drop.
Ooh.
And Michael's appearance showed up right behind me. I didn't even see the flash, but I felt the energy shift. The temperature got hot, and I had somebody who was not as sensitive see Michael behind me.
Yeah.
And so how can I deny that experience? I asked for help specifically from him, and I got it. And not only did I get it, but there was somebody else who saw me get the assistance.
Wow.
And he said it was such a big flash of white. It was, it totally took his attention. And so I know that Michael is real.
Sure.
And I don't believe necessarily all the things that humans say about him, of course. And it's not even really a him. Angelic beings are genderless, but we always like to assign gender because it's a human thing. So I know that Michael helps me. I know that Michael works with me. I can hear him. I talk to him. I work with him. But it's not something that I'm going to go around and tell everybody about. Yeah. And a lot of people will sense his presence with me, but don't understand what they're feeling or what they know or anything. And it's not for me to prove to them anything either.
I love that every time. It's not up to me to convince or to prove or to make your belief system change.
Yeah, because I can't. It would be futile.
Yeah.
I can't change anybody. I don't have enough time to change myself.
Yeah.
Much less anybody else. And if, as a parent, like you can't even change your kids, and you've been in charge of them since they got here.
Especially when they're in college and they're adults and they're like, "I'm an adult." I'm like, "Really? Move out. Tell me how adult you are."
Right.
So, there are a few other things on this amazing list of things that you wrote down.
Was that all one post that you took, or did you
I kind of just, the irony of listening to gangster rap while studying ancient religion texts is not lost on me. Yeah, that's the beginning. It's the beginning. Yo. All humans are walking paradoxes. There is no dark without light. There is no hate without love. There is no pain without joy. There is nothing you are experiencing that doesn't have an equal opposite. The good news is that if you're experiencing what you don't want, then you're this close to what you do want. You just got to let yourself have it. You just got to let yourself do it. You just got to let yourself experience it. Yeah, pretty profound, right? Chapter and verse on that. That's like a yoga sutra. These are good. This whole thing, you have a lot of content. Now, you've given yourself the moniker of the spiritual unicorn. And tell me a little bit about that. The unicorn is this magical, mystical, exciting fairy animal that probably existed somewhere. I don't know. What do you know about it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about the actual creature, but I found through my journey, I've gone through a lot of business cards, and you got to put some sort of something on there to tell people who you are and what you're about. And I just felt like every title was limiting. I do do a lot of spiritual teachings, and
I'm a spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, get in
and
line.
then, right. And it's like, okay, well, like, okay, so I look at the spiritual teachers who are teaching, I'm nothing like them. You know, okay, I'm a spiritual medium. Okay, well, I look at the mediums out there, I'm nothing like them either. I mean, I can do mediumship. I'm very equipped for that. It comes to me naturally, but it limits me, because then people think that I'm only good for talking to their dead loved ones. Dead. I heard, make sure you give the air quotes, dead.
Yep, because we realize there is no death and there are no dead.
It's just a transition. And so everything just seemed to limit me. And I felt like I just kept adding more things to the list. The last card that I wrote, it says spiritual teacher, medium, mentor, speaker. And there's one other one I always forget, whatever there's so many I can't even remember them.
And NASCAR driver.
Right? I did want to be a NASCAR driver at one point when I was a kid. Yeah, I do love to drive fast. But
left lane, hammer down.
And being intuitive, I know if there's cops or not. And the universe does work on my side. Sometimes if I'm not paying attention, all of a sudden I'm slowed down. I'm like, why am I slowed down? There's a cop right there.
Sure.
So I can't even tell you how many times I've been saved that way. And I don't even think cops see me, honestly, anymore. I don't get... That's another part of it, too. When you learn you create your reality, you can create anything. Cops don't see me. The speed, radar things, they don't see me.
So now people are going to drive around going, I'm spiritual, I'm going to speed.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that, because the
Daphne
thing is that you got to really be in touch and in tune with yourself and using it for the right reasons.
So if I get a ticket, then I'm not as spiritual as you. Oh, no.
Words in my mouth. And you know what? It's actually, this is a really good example of how things do get misconstrued, though, because people do that.
Sure.
You know, okay, well, she says this, so that, okay, well, if I just am spiritual enough, if I just believe hard enough. And it's like, okay, well, that's part of it. There is no one thing that you can do independent of anything else. Everything is all connected. So it's an accumulation of things. It is because I was willing to shed everything and let go of all of those things that I understand. And all of these other truths. And part of my journey is also proving these things. I want to prove everything that Jesus did. He said everything he could do, I could do and more. So let's start it up. All right, I got the healing, I got the mediumship. Now I just, I've just got to cure everybody with my radiated energy.
Sure.
But I'm not attached to that. I just want to grow my being and expand to the point where those things happen, because people need to see to believe. And sometimes it just takes a radical, in-your-face sort of experience for that to happen for you.
That's one of my Daphne quotes I wrote down, that Jesus came to tell us that we're all part of the divine, that we don't need saving, that we are all equal. In fact, Jesus was a medium.
He was.
That's a Daphne quote.
Yeah, he was. And when you say that, that's actually what caused two people to walk out of my church service today. Is when I was talking about how you don't need saving. Jesus cannot save you, because you do not need saving. You do not need salvation. There's nothing to be saved from. There is no forgiveness. Do you know that?
Oh, that is so good. That's literally the opposite of what I was taught my whole life.
There's no such thing as forgiveness, because there's nothing that you can do that you need forgiveness for in God's eyes. Because you are loved so much that you have 100% free will, and you get to do anything that you want to do. Whether it works out for you or not is another story. But you are loved so much that you can do anything that you want to do. And if you have 100% free will, and this is where the other side of it comes from, is because it's not just religious. We have been talking about like kind of these abstract ideas, but everything comes down to science. Everything is energy. We just have to start over here in that thinking and completely let go of today's science to start over here, because today's science has no reference point for these things that I know are true, because my instrument is my body, and energetically I can feel all of these things. I can feel your aura, how far it's extended. Like your aura is very tight, and we're closed in a very tight energy field right now because we're present with each other. We're not, and we're including the viewers and the listeners and everything in that, and they're part of it. And right now, even though we're recording this, they're already listening to it. They're already giving us their energy. Every single person who will ever watch this, listen to it, is doing so right now.
Right now, in this eternal moment
right
of
now, and providing us with their energy and contributing to our conversation. Did you feel the energy start to shift now that we're talking about it too? And you might even start to feel how wide it kind of goes, even though we're contained, we're including a lot of people in. A really amazing experience when you can feel the things beyond what you can see and start to really integrate them into your being. We accept feelings and emotions. Those aren't tangible. We can't hold on to those. They're fleeting. They are, almost nonsensical as far as science is concerned, because there's no way to prove it, but yet we still have it and it's still a part of us. So what are we going to do about it? And my thing with Jesus today was that he is not here to save. He's just another person, and his story got misconstrued. Jesus wasn't a Christian.
Yes.
And so it was always seemed silly to me that a new religion was created to follow a man who already had a religion that he followed. Why wouldn't you just go with what he was doing already? So something about him was so different that a whole new way of thinking was created. So what are we going to do with that? If we have 100% free will, how far does that go? People just tend to think about what I can do physically with my free will, and people will say, oh, well, you can't do whatever you want. There'll be people who stop you. Well, maybe I might not get a full execution, but I can start anything that I want to, and there ain't nobody who's going to stop me from starting something. You might stop me from finishing it. But there is nothing that anybody can stop me from starting. The only person who's stopping me is me.
I love that whole thing about free will. It was always given to me, the narrative of, well, you have free will. You get to choose God, or to choose to be with him, or to choose not to be with him.
Right.
And I was like, well, then that's not free will. I don't get a choice. Oh yeah, you get the choice. You get the choice.
You have the illusion of choice.
You have the illusion of choice. And I'm like, whoa. Then there's no free will there, because you're telling me that this is the only game. Let's say I had to play the game of baseball. Well, I don't want to play baseball. Well, you have to. You're telling me, well, what if I want to play basketball? Over here is a totally different game. Well, you have to either play this or not play this. That's free will. It was a very small, constricted free will. But now I'm finding in this ultimate, unending, never-stopping universe, free will is getting to create whatever you want to create in this experience.
Exactly. And you know that. Just like you aren't going to go step out in front of a car in traffic. If you're being present in the moment, you're going to see the car coming and you're just going to wait. So there are repercussions for certain things. And as humans, we are far enough advanced to understand those, as opposed to our animal counterparts that do not. The dogs get hit by cars all the time. They don't understand that. So as humans, we have an advanced knowledge of things and how they work, but we give too much away to this unseen force that we've made up, telling each other that this force dictates our lives and all of these things, and there's things that we shouldn't do. And it's like, okay, well, if I shouldn't do it, then there will be something in place that will prevent me from doing it, or there will be a severe consequence if I do. If I'm out in the woods and I need some toilet paper, I'm not going to pick poison ivy. If I do, then I have a problem, and now I know not to pick that plant anymore. There's parameters put into place for things. And if there aren't any parameters, if I can do it, then, well, there's something in there for me, whether it's I get the result I want or not. It's just like emotions. A lot of people suppress emotions and things because you shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't feel mad. You shouldn't feel all of these adverse feelings. Well, if that were the truth, then you wouldn't be able to feel them.
That's right.
It's what you do from that space that matters. So if you're angry, you're allowed to feel that. But if you allow that to fuel you to yell at the other person or to cause a physical altercation or something like that, that's where the problem comes in. Those are the things that you shouldn't, I'll say shouldn't, I'll use that very loosely.
Sure,
But maybe you do. Because there are people out there who will make choices that will give them something back that they don't really want, but they do want it. So who am I to stop them from having that experience if that's what they really want, if that's what they're choosing? They're getting something out of it. I don't have to understand it. And if I don't understand it, then there isn't anything in there for me, because it's not a part of me if I don't understand it. But if I do understand it, then I've got to take a look at that, because it's part of me. And thank goodness they're having that experience, so I get to watch, and I don't have to have one of those myself. Unless I want to.
Oh, so good. So if people want to reach out and contact you, they can go to your website.
The Daphne.com.
The
Daphne. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And tell me the type of work when people contact you, the type of things you do. Is it a psychic reading? Is it mediumship? Is it messages? Is it channeling? Is it all of the above? How does that work?
So it really just kind of depends on what's going on. But what I really love and I feel is my calling is to teach and to help you understand some of these abstract things, you know, all the things that we've talked about, and even more, to give you an understanding and to help you feel confident in your journey. So there will be different things. So for example, I'm going to Monrovia, California next month, and I'm going to speak at a church there. And after the service, we're going to have an hour guided meditation. And people roll their eyes at guided meditations because they're like, oh, I've done so many meditations, and meditation is just, you know, no mind and all these things. And it's really not that. The meditations that I do are designed to invoke the God spark from within you so that you can feel it. So that you can, do you feel it now?
What I got to tell the listener is the guided meditation I got to experience with Daphne. I know I'm interrupting this. I can't not interrupt this. She says, okay, now you said a whole bunch of things. It was a wonderful experience. She said, you're either the rock in the middle of the water, or you're the water going past the rock, or you're the fish swimming upstream. And that spoke so much to me. And then later you're like, yeah, I don't really remember talking about that much. I'm like, yeah, but that was the part that really resonated to me. So there's so many things. When you do a guided meditation with Daphne, there's so many things that you incorporate. It's part channel, part your teaching coming through. And you'll go through many different places, a garden, a stream, whether it's natural or an ethereal space.
Yeah, and every meditation is different, and it is channeled. So I start it as Daphne and get you into the breathing and help you get into a relaxed state of being, a receptive state of being. And then my guides take over sometimes. It might be the angels that take over. Michael is known. And I don't tell you that in the meditation. It's not told to you who it is that's bringing it through. It just gets brought through. And it connects you back to the greatest part of yourself, which is infinite intelligence. And helps to invoke that from within you, but give you that sense of feeling, because we feel God all the time. We just don't know what God feels like because we're just so used to, we haven't stopped to know what God feels like. Just like your blood is constantly pumping through your veins, you don't feel your blood flow though. If you stop, all you're feeling is your heart pumping. You're feeling the heartbeat, but you don't actually feel the blood flow. And now there are some psychedelic drugs, and mushrooms are really common, where you could really feel your blood moving through your veins. It takes something to heighten your perception to be able to feel the blood running through your veins, but just because you can't feel it doesn't mean it's not happening. And same thing with your greatest part of yourself. It's always there. You're never separate from it. It isn't something you have to find. That's what Jesus was talking about. You don't have to find anything. It's already there. You just simply need to be aware of it. And if you don't know how to do it, then you don't know how to do it. And you won't know if that's what you're feeling. And so that's where my experience comes in as a medium, is that I can create the environment and I set the space so that only what is coming through is what's allowed to happen. And I've had people try to do different things in meditations when we had a very specific intention, and they were unable to bring anybody else in. A good example here is I was teaching somebody how to connect with their guides, and he kept trying to bring Mother Mary in, and he said that she couldn't come in. She kept bouncing out. I said, well, yes, because the energy was set for your guides, not for her. She's not your guide. She was responding to your request, but the energy was incompatible.
Who's bugging me? I'm trying to cook in the kitchen. And so and I believe that if we all got reconnected to that greatest part of us, and that we could understand it for ourselves and be encouraged to do that, a lot of the fear that we live with would subside, that we would be able to move forward in our lives not knowing what's going to happen, because we are consciously connected to our Creator, which is what everybody is searching for when they go show up at church anyway.
So why not have the direct path? Why keep diverting out through all these other avenues when you can just go straight to God?
Yeah.
The only reason that you don't is because you are afraid that you aren't going to recognize God when you find him.
Yeah.
You know? And it's just a feeling. It's not a person. It's not something that your conscious mind can really even begin to understand. But you can understand that you are energy. You can understand that God is everything, and your brain will somehow make that connection like we talked about earlier. It will just bridge that gap for you. And so you can accept that what you are feeling is the God spark, the God within you being activated. In the meditations, I do that for you. I help connect you to that. And all you do is follow me. And there hasn't been a single person that's ever meditated with me that was unable to get something. Everybody got something. It's just the mind that starts to get in the way, which is where the meditations differ with how you are brought into it, and the energy that is present pretty much makes it where you've got to be present with your spirit team in some form. Even if your mind is going, they'll end up just helping you run with it, and you end up doing exactly what you need to do to get what you need to get. And one thing that I really stress in my meditations is that it's not about doing exactly what I say. And it's not about sticking to my regimen and the words that are coming out of my mouth, but to be present in the moment with what is happening and allow it to take you wherever it needs to go. So there's always at least one person who goes off into their own little zone and they think they fall asleep.
Probably Carrie, right?
Yeah, she goes off. And you know, new people who've never meditated with me before will think they fall asleep. But you come back with me. And if you were sleeping, I'd have to wake you up. But you've just gone somewhere and you've gotten exactly what you needed to move you forward, whatever that is. And it's not up to me to dictate that, but to simply provide the energy frequency for you to elevate and bring in whatever is needed for you. And these meditations are a permanent vibration riser too. And that was something that I did not take ownership of for a long time, because part of this journey, you know, there's the ego side of it where everybody's like, oh, I'm, you know, the best medium ever. But then there's the other side of that same coin where you get so humble about it that you can't take responsibility and ownership for the things that you are able to bring through. I understand that all of these things I'm capable of doing are coming through me and are not of me, of my own, but I have to give myself credit for all of the work that I've done to be able to bring through angel messages and loved ones and connect with source in a way that I can bring it to you and to own that and to share that. And I believe that if everybody was able to experience that from within them, that they would have the motivation, the inspiration, the desire to go down that rabbit hole and see where it goes. Because I have no doubt that if you do, you're going to find the same answers that I have found. So my encouragement is just to help you on your journey. If that's what you want to do, if you don't want to be on your journey, well then, you know, I ain't going to force you to do that either. You know, we can go over to the sports bar and watch some football. Like, I'm okay with that too. You know, the other part of it too is that I've realized even just my general presence creates something for people. It invokes something for them. And that was something I didn't want to own up to either, because too many people in this world are like, oh, you know, my shit don't stink, and you know, look at me. Check and me out. You know, and use it to their advantage. And I know that I've had other lifetimes where I did do that. And so it's very important for me to not do that. And especially as a beautiful woman, it makes it even more difficult because it's so easy to fall into that and to allow your physical appearance to carry you. But then people don't see you for who you are. All they see is what's out here, you know, and that gets to be a really lonely place too. You know, when people can't see you for who you are, but you've got to be able to share who you are from a genuine space. And that's the only thing that you can do.
Oh, so good. Daphne, thank you so much for being on the show, sharing your journey.
Thank you. Oh, before we go, I have something for you.
We're not done.
Oh, we're not? Okay.
I'll take gifts.
Okay. All right.
So I like to end the show with the guest. Now I want to know what the gift is, so maybe I should do that first. But I like to end the show with the guest saying, if there's one thing that I could leave you with, this is really, really important. You need to know this thing. What would that one thing be that you'd want people to know?
That is, you're making me take everything and compress it down into
if you were to say
one little
so
thing,
much
and
about
it is, and
Daphne,
there's so much.
This is this. I really want to make sure you get this.
All right. I would say that everything that you need is already here, and that it only takes your letting go of what you think it should be and allowing yourself to see what it really is. It is in the buffaloing of ourselves that we lose ourselves, and that anything that is real cannot be taken from you.
It's beautiful. Awesome. I like gifts. If you have a gift for me.
So throughout my journey, I've learned all sorts of tools. I've gone through the whole gamut of everything. And one of my absolute favorite tools to use are crystals. But I have one in particular that I recommend to everybody everywhere. I've given so many pieces of it away. But this piece had your name on it. And because I was getting all my stuff ready to go, and I heard something calling to me, and I'm looking around and I saw it on my shelf.
All right.
It's a piece of selenite. I don't know if you own any of them.
Sweet Lady Gail loves selenite. She loves it.
So that particular piece, though, you can feel that it's got a wand sort of ability about it. It is a very magical piece. And and selenite is, in my opinion, if you're going to own one crystal, selenite is it. It doesn't retain any energy. It flows through, and I compare it to like a fish tank filter. It's constantly cleaning the energy, the fish tank, right? And it's keeping the tank clean, keeping everything clean. Selenite keeps your energy clean. So it will help you get rid of anything that's stuck, that you're trying to let go of, that may be hanging on. It can help you shift out of any states of being. I actually have some bigger pieces of selenite that I use in my seances and my dark circles for people who get overwhelmed by spirit energy. It can feel like anxiety because when they come close, your physical body reacts. And so selenite can help dispel some of that. But this piece called out for you and said that it needed to come with you. So I feel like you're going to need it for something. I'm not getting what for, but you'll know what it's for. And the other thing too is that it can help clear any crystals that you've got. So you can lay them with the selenite, and it'll help cleanse the other crystals and get them back to their pristine condition. Cool. But here comes the messages. She said, Gail said that there were some messages. So,
hey, if you got something to say, let it go.
I do. So we're going to start with your spirit guides, okay? And you've seen me work before, so I feel comfortable starting with that. If you were new to me, I would bring through somebody that I could prove to you first, so that you can know that I'm legit and that I'm not pulling your leg. And it sets a really good solid foundation, so that way when I bring through other things from beings I can't validate, then you can accept those. So you think you've been through the hard parts.
Oh boy.
It's not the hard part yet.
Oh boy.
It has, but it's like a roller coaster this time that you're excited about. It's, give me just a second, let me just pull all this. And there's a lot of people coming in for this, and they're starting to make a line, so. This roller coaster, it feels like a very defined path for you, something that you set up before you got here, okay? And so now you're just getting in the car, and it's been like a kiddie ride, I feel like. And now the roller coaster is really going to start going. There's going to be some loop-de-loops. There's going to be a couple of points where you feel like you're going to be set back. where you feel like you made a lot of progress and then you're like, but I was already here, I already did this. It is just a spiral, okay? You're going up, but there's still something more that you need from this. And I'm gonna take you, this is definitely religious sort of things, and I feel that there's somebody really important to you that is really gonna, they're feeling really rocked by what you're doing in your life. And I don't know that they understand the whole capacity of what you're doing and everything. I feel that this will come after you've shared a lot more, and there will be a fear that's invoked in them that they are then bringing to you. So there are a lot of pieces. I don't think you've understood the box you've opened.
Nope, haven't. I'm just trying to get therapy for spiritual anxiety.
I heard Pandora's box. There are a lot of things that you are going to learn that you had no idea, and I know that that's already happened to you, but I feel like it's just going to go deeper and deeper, and it's the path that they're showing me. I mean, it's just way, way out here in, I'm hearing like no man's land. Okay, so just be mindful of that you're starting to go on a very individual journey that can make you feel very separate and alone, okay? But your knowing of that will help you through those moments. It won't. Have you experienced any severe depression?
That's a normal human emotion that I experience, sure.
I feel like this is going to be even deeper than that. Like, just more bottoms are being pulled out from underneath of you. You think you get to the bottom and it pulls out. But it'll all be good. It'll all, you know. But there's just some more digging, and I just see all these gems being turned up in the dirt and all of these different things, and some of them you're not recognizing and putting away for later. So yeah, just watch your heart, okay? Because that's where you get. That's your crux. Your crux is the heart. I don't know why they're being so vague. I feel like they just want to prepare you for some of these things, but then it'll really be exciting. That's where the roller coaster part comes in. If you remember that you did design this and that this is a very controlled thing, even though it feels out of control. So, you have a lot of people do things for you that happen without your knowledge. There are a lot of people that are working on your behalf to do things for you that they don't even realize they're doing for you until it happens. It's like, oh, this was for you? Oh, this is for you? Oh, this is for you? So expect a lot of that coming up. A lot of people unknowingly supporting you in what you're doing. It's, they'll go, oh, is that why I've been doing this? Okay. Would you like a message from Infinite Intelligence?
Yes.
Because I say there's nobody there, and I hear I'm always there. And there is a overwhelming sense of pride that comes through in the truest sense. That you are doing exactly what you set out to do, and that your deviations have been minimal. You've been feeling the subtle encouragement to continue to let things go. And you haven't been able to attach really anything to it. It's just this feeling that you have from within you. And that is your God spark. That is what you are invoking. You're using different words, you're using different things, but you're pulling it up from within you. And there is so much support around that to allow you to unfold in a way that feels really good, and you are encouraged to continue to do that. And when somebody brings you a different way of doing something, just allow them to speak, and don't feel that you need to even contribute to that conversation more than just allowing them to share with you. There is a very unique quality about you where you are able to take these different pieces of things and construct a really beautiful picture for yourself out of them. You've always been able to pull the best of things and utilize them in your own life. And that is a gift that you need to teach others through your own actions. And it is part of your journey to continue to bring all of these pieces that you love together and put them together in your own picture, to encourage people to do the same. There is a huge undertaking happening right now on your behalf to help clear the way for you. And understand that when you meet the resistance and the things that you're trying to do, especially when you have, and I hear that you've audibly called out and been like, the hell? I know I'm supposed to be doing this. How come you're not letting me do this? It's because the timing is not right. So you are being heard very clearly, and the responses are going to come even clearer now. So pay attention and just be present in the moment, especially when you meet those moments of resistance here, because your whole life you called out in those moments of resistance. You begged for all of that, and you've got this accumulation of energy, and now you're finally opening yourself to receive all of that. So it's going to come heavy and quick, and I feel that there'll be some big blows, and you'll have to take some time to recuperate. And I don't mean that negatively at all, just big things that happen that just make you take a step back. And you are divinely supported in all of that, whatever time that you need to take for that. If you feel that you just need to cancel everything, please do. And don't put your obligations to other people before the obligations to your own soul. And it just so much love, and I see every step you take just being completely supported. I mean, as if you were walking on air. God's hands are just right under each one of your steps. And know that there's nothing that you have done that has been a waste of time.
That's good.
Oh, you had asked me about what I do if somebody was wanting to bring me out to their place. So I prefer to bring through messages that will help you move forward in your life, but I do that through mediumship in a way that can be tangibly confirmed. So I love to do group sessions, and I have an event in Chino Valley where I do a tea party, and I do messages for about 25 people in the room, and they're, short, maybe 4 to 5 minutes. And so I love doing those. I also love doing public speaking, whether it be at a church or a spiritual place. My goal now is to take all of these things that I've learned and be in different spiritual centers and help to unify everybody who has the desire to reach for the truth. However that is masked by religion or not, it doesn't matter, but just the truth seekers and anybody who resonates with anything that I have to say, and you just feel called to bring me, then that's the place that I need to be. So, and I do offer one-on-one private sessions and some mentoring, and I do teach mediumship classes and the meditations. So there are a lot of different things, which is what falls under the unicorn umbrella. So chances are, if you are feeling drawn to me for something, whether you know what it is or not, then that's exactly what I'm here for. And please call me, get in touch with me, and let's see how we can elevate and raise our consciousness collectively.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey.
Thank you, David. I am so happy to be here, and I'm so happy that I met you and your beautiful wife and everything that you've contributed to my experience. You have no idea. So thank you for everything that you have been through to be here with me today.
Namaste.
I'm David Marsh, and you've been watching Exploring the Human Journey on YouTube as a video and listening as a podcast. If you would like to help continue the conversation, please consider supporting us by visiting patreon.com, where you can support us on a monthly basis and get extra bonus content. For as little as $1 a month, you can make this show sustainable and help continue spiritual consciousness. You can also help by following us on Facebook and Instagram. For more information about the show, find us online at exploringthehumanjourney.com.